Welcome to our video, Verb Tenses. I'm Trainer James, and in this video we're going to tackle one of the most difficult topics in English grammar. When dealing with verbs, we have to consider two terms, tense and form. Tense tells us when an action occurred, whereas form tells us what elements we need to put before and or after the verb in order to change its function. Let's take a look at the three basic tenses first. Those are past, present, and future. Each tense has different forms. There are four forms to remember: the simple, the progressive, the perfect, and the combo perfect progressive. In this video, we're going to tackle the first three. Now, before we get into the rules, here's a table to help you understand all three tenses and all four forms. Feel free to pause the video so that you may study these tenses and forms in action. Now, let's take a look at some common Filipino errors.
I make the report already. Did you went there? He is watching a movie yesterday.
Now, let's try it again, but using the correct verb tense.
I made the report already. Did you go there? He was watching a movie yesterday.
Okay, now let's move into the different tenses and different forms, starting with the simple. Simple present is used when you want to express a repeated action that exists only now. It can also represent a widespread truth, such as, I walk to the office every day. He is a doctor. Simple past. We use the simple past to describe an action or situation that was started and finished in the past. Most past tense verbs end in ed, such as, I walked to the office yesterday. Irregular verbs have special past tense forms that must be memorized, such as, he was a doctor. Now, let's try an exercise.
Convert these verbs from their base form into their simple past. Now let's see how you did. Cut, cut. Choose, chose. Forgive, forgave. Talk, talked. Bite, bit. Say, said. Sleep, slept. Run, ran. Swim, swam.
Good job. Now let's move on to the simple future. We use simple future to express an action or situation that will occur in the future. This tense is formed by using will or shall plus the simple form of the verb, such as, I will walk to the office tomorrow. He will be a doctor. Now let's move on to the progressive, starting with the present progressive. The present progressive describes an ongoing action that was happening at the same time the statement was said or written. It is formed by using am, is, or are, depending on the subject, with the verb form ending in ing, such as, I am walking to the office. She is singing a lullaby. Moving on, the past progressive describes an action which usually happens when another action occurred. It is formed by using was or were plus the verb form ending in ing, such as, I was walking to the office when it rained, or we were singing a lullaby when the baby woke. And the future progressive is used to describe an ongoing action that will occur in the future. We form this by using will be or shall be plus the verb form ending in ing. Let's take a look at a few more examples. I will be walking to the office tomorrow. She will be singing a lullaby when the baby wakes. And finally, our last forms are the perfect, starting with the present perfect, arguably the most difficult. The present perfect describes an action that happened at an indefinite time in the past or that began in the past and continues into the present. This tense is formed by using has or have, again depending on the subject, with the past participle of the verb. Most past participles end in ed, such as Martin has crashed his car again. However, irregular verbs have special past participles that must be memorized. For example, see, saw, seen. Let's take a look at an example. I have seen 3 movies this week. The past perfect. The past perfect describes an action that took place in the past before another past action. This tense is formed by using had with the past participle of the verb, such as, by the time the troops arrived, the war had ended. Here we have 2 actions, arrived, had ended. Notice the second action, we know exactly when it started and we know when it ended. How do we know? Well, we have a second action to compare it to, arrived. And finally, the future perfect. The future perfect describes an action that will occur in the future before some other action. This tense is formed by using will have plus the past participle of the verb, such as, by the time the troops arrive, the combat group will have spent several weeks waiting. Again, we have 2 actions that will occur in the future. The second action we have perfect knowledge of. We know when it started and we know when it finished. How do we know? By comparing it to that first action. Okay, let's try one last exercise. Great job! That concludes our video on verb tenses. I hope you had a good time learning about grammar, and I look forward to seeing you again. Take care!